Everyone, welcome to the premiere of the Lorosportspod MLB Hot Stove Show. So my name is LoroAntonio. With me today is Ben Kurse. We've had long discussions about this show, and it's finally happened. And we also are proud to announce that our new MLB show, This Week in Baseball, will be premiering on March 30th. So looking forward to that when the new 2022 season begins. So, Ben, how's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Laura, and excited to start this new show here.
Yeah, we got a new baseball show for everybody. It's been in the works. I mean, looking forward to what the 2022 season has in store for us, but a little bit nervous and a little bit of anxiety around the fans right now because of this collective bargaining agreement talks, as John Heyman was tweeting some new developments here. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. So let's start with the World Series. So the Atlanta Braves beat the Houston Astros in 6 games of the World Series. And the Braves had a chance to get it done in 5 on Halloween night. But the Astros were like, hey, let's send this back to Houston and let's try to get this to 7 games. But the Braves found a way to win Game 6, and Max Fried pitched really, really well and pitched 6 good innings.
Yeah, it was a good series. Congratulations to the Atlanta Braves on winning it. It's now been about 2 weeks, I think, since the baseball season has officially ended. So, happy for them and happy for that team to get back themselves on track here as we've lost Loro. I will keep going, I guess. But yeah, this team was they were made to make this World Series team and possibly win it. They had a good team with Dansby Swanson and Freddie Freeman, of course, was doing great, and as Loro has it rides back. But yeah, I mean, Eddie Rosario was a pickup that they got in this offseason. Adam Duvall was a pickup that they got in this offseason. So, a lot of the offseason pickups that the Braves had via free agency or at the trade deadline, actually, more of the trade deadline, really paid dividends. They had to go through a bunch of adversity. Charlie Moore and their ace went down early on in the World Series. So, yeah, it was crazy. I mean, the Astros were a great team, obviously beating my Red Sox in the ALCS to move on to the World Series. But, their pitching staff obviously got tested kind of at the end, from Valdez, Luis Garcia. They had kind of shaky outings the last couple of times out, and the bullpen was kind of shaky here on out for the Astros. So congrats once again to the Braves. They deserved it, and we'll see how it goes next year.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason like we talked about, but the Braves, they were totally the better team in this World Series, and Jorge Soler is the World Series MVP, and talk about him having a really good series.
Oh yeah, I mean, this guy was kind of floating around, in different teams for a while. He doesn't really hit great for average, but he could hit the long ball for power, and he could hit it far. I mean, that ball that he hit against Garcia in Game 6 might have been one of the farthest balls I've ever seen. Out of the ballpark, there vibes out there that it was kind of a similar to when the Cardinals played the Astros several years ago when Albert Pujols hit one out. The flight track on it, I mean, was very, very similar. But yeah, this is a big win for obviously the Braves. Well-deserved win. You wanted to finish it. They were crazy. They were close enough to finish in 5, but if they went to Game 7, then not only I mean, a winner-take-all game regardless of the Astros, but they would have had a lot more than momentum, and it just seemed like Max Fried had other plans, that he did a great job shutting that team down. And yeah, I mean, like I said, props to the Braves for winning and finishing this thing off. So
yes, it was. I mean, credit to the Braves here for that, but also talk about award seasons underway. So let's start off with your NL and AL Gold Glove winners. So let's talk about that right now. So let's start with the NL. So we got Jacob Stallings, Max Fried have been Gold Glove winners for their respective positions, especially at pitcher and catcher. Paul Goldschmidt, Tommy Edman, Brandon Crawford, and Nolan Arenado are now Gold Glove infielders. The Gold Glove outfield winners are Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, and Adam Duvall. But the Cardinals have really taken the most Gold Gloves in this National League bracket here.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan Arenado is he's one of the best, if not the best, third baseman out there. So that one really doesn't surprise me. But young guys like Harrison Bader, a young center fielder that's really thrived on his defense. His offense is kind of hit or miss, but guys like him, he's kind of like a Jackie Bradley Jr. per se. He'll hit for a low average, but I think he can make plays, and he can definitely cover lots of ground. Jacob Stallings, a decent catcher for the Pirates. It wasn't really talked about much. Obviously, he had rated pitcher. Brandon Crawford was very underrated at shortstop. I think, with the great, quality of shortstops we have around the league. I think Brandon Crawford kind of gets a little overlooked in terms of how we did this year, which was fantastic. A big reason why the San Francisco Giants were where they were this year. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those seem like they're really well deserved. You had some ones that were kind of, the right easy ones, and then you had some ones that are probably tough choices, but all of them that made it well deserved.
Yes, absolutely. Now to the American League side. The outfield, Andrew Benintendi, Michael Taylor, Joey Gallo. At third base, and the infield, Matt Chapman, Carlos Correa, Marcus Simeon, Yuli Gurriel, and then the battery of Sean Murphy and Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this obviously was kind of similar to the NL, where there was a lot of probably tough decisions. I was a bit surprised that Hunter Renfroe might have not gotten as much credit as he deserved. He was, taking my bias aside, but I thought that he was fantastic in right field for us, especially at a tough place for half the games at Fenway Park. He did a pretty good job. But Benintendi, I'm really happy for him as a former Red Sox. I didn't really know how well he was in the field this year. I knew hitting he was decent. Michael A. Taylor, kind of similar, to kind of Harrison Bader. He'll hit a little more for higher average than Bader will, but he's more reliant on his outfield play. He played for a pretty shaky team, I believe, and the Royals. So, he got obviously nominated to 2 Royals in the outfield. This was good for them because they didn't really have a great year this year. Joey Gallo coming from Texas to the Yankees, he obviously probably got more recognition that way. But even in Texas, they recognize Joey Gallo kind of as that main best player there, and going down to the Yankees where you have a ton of them. And so, yeah, that was a big one for them as well. Great arm, obviously hitting. He'll strike out or hit home runs. Kind of been his, his long-term type of career, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, like I said, most of them are well deserved.
Absolutely. Now it's time for the Dodgers and Red Sox 2021 season recap. We'll start with the Red Sox first. So you guys got Kike Hernandez to kind of help with that lineup, and I think that the Red Sox were really good offensively. Their bullpen had its ups and downs, and their starting rotation wasn't that great to say, but I think that you're going to see a lot of big things from them heading into next season.
Yeah, and actually another tweet out there, breaking news from John Heyman, as he's been floating a bunch of them lately. The Dodgers president, Andrew Friedman, said his budget is fluid, which he translated to mean that his owners have been willing to approve expenditures to win. If you want to know what that means, though, they are going to be spending. Like they already need more better players than they have been, but they're going to be spending more. So good for you guys. But yeah, the Red Sox as a whole, and I've kind of said this for a while. The expectations around this team starting from the beginning. I'm not going to go through every month per se, but the first half of the season, first place, things definitely exceeded that point. At that point, people are saying, "Oh, was it a fluke? Were they just overachieving?" You could have a case for some of that stuff, but I knew that this lineup would hit. Adding Kike Hernandez, I thought would be a great fit. Hunter Renfroe, I thought could be a hit or miss type of player. As April, he just looked terrible. but I thought that his glove was good. And then his offense really started to pick things up by May and June. And then you had, JD Martinez, obviously, Corse guy. Yeah, bring Alex Cora in, first of all. That obviously will help a lot of the guys hopefully get better this season. You had JD Martinez, who had a terrible last year. Then you had Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts. And then you had your starting pitching. You had no Chris Sale, as he was still recovering. So you really do rely on guys like Nathan Eovaldi, Arado Rodriguez, Garrett Richards. So Garrett Richards wasn't a starter at all. He was proving the first half that he was really bad. And Martin Perez was not good at all in the starting rotation. So they decided to go out. They were in first place, but they definitely need to make changes. So Chaim Bloom, a lot of people, were wanting, we want Rizzo from the Yankees for first base. But we went out instead, and we decided to get Kyle Schwarber. There's a lot of names at trade deadline that we could have gotten for, they're kind of more household names. But, we settled on Kyle Schwarber. And we thought that he would be a good bat, but we didn't know where he kind of would be able to play in the field. We're kind of, when people were saying that you were kind of exploring him at first base, people were worried. And I was worried myself. I couldn't deny that. We also got Hansa, Robles, and Austin Davis, two kind of guys that had kind of mediocre, careers in the years past. But, Bloom, I would say give them flyers, and he'd have to spend a lot. So, at least for Hansa Robles, he didn't look like he was that great. A lot of them first couple of weeks after the trade deadline looked like they weren't nothing per se. And then second half comes along, the Red Sox had a COVID outbreak. Xander Bogaerts gets COVID, and a bunch of guys just seemed to kind of be out of sync. They switched up. They used Jarren Duran getting called up. They brought down Martin Perez and Garrett Richards to the bullpen. Garrett Richards actually turned out to be a savior for the bullpen because he taxed a lot of innings in that pen. Heck, there was even a time that they used him as a closer, which I didn't obviously want for the permanent. Red Sox didn't have a closer. They kind of shuffled, and obviously that's what they need this offseason. I'll kind of get to some names that I want to as closer in a while here, but I think that this season was crazy. Then they get to the wild card game, winner take all. It looked like in the last week. So this is where the fun begins in terms of my talk. The last week happens, right? The Red Sox fall down. They're in second place, and they're in third place. They finish between second and third, I think, because the Rays got first. And so they, the only way the Red Sox are going to be able to sneak in is if they, the 2 out of the 3 they lost to Baltimore. And, the Orioles are one of the worst teams possible. So you're like, oh, it looks like they're done, or it looks like they're going to have to go on the road or whatever. And then they sweep, I think, the Nationals the last weekend, which was just incredible. That sets you up for a winner-take-all game against the Yankees. And I feel like I still would be an underdog, even at home. And Nathan Eovaldi was on the mound, and we'll see. We had to see what happened because they had Garrett Cole, and Red Sox got an early lead. They never looked back. They played one of probably their best games, and that way they moved on to the Rays series. We were definitely underdogs. The Rays were a 100-win type team, and the Red Sox definitely caught fire. Their bats were alive. Lots of guys are doing great things. And then we were fortunate enough to get to the American League CS. And at this point, everybody was just buzzing, city and stuff. And, how can you not? So it was obviously really exciting to kind of see this season, how it turned out. Obviously, then you move on to the championship series. You go up 2-1. Things are really looking promising. You're up 2-1 in Game 4 against the Astros. You could have gone up 3-1 series lead, perhaps. And obviously, Altuve has some other plans. And then the missed strike 3 to Castro in the 9th inning. It was a 2-2 game with 2 outs. I still can't believe that wasn't a strike 3 call, but things, of course, definitely unraveled from there. So it was a 2-2 series lead at that point because the Astros won. Then I went to Game 5. The Astros won at fair and square on that one. We really just stopped hitting there. And then the next game after, we got shut out. Series was over. Astros move on. Red Sox series is done. Had to have some time day after to reflect. Obviously, the game after, the Red Sox definitely didn't deserve to win kind of after that Game 4. Their bats definitely slowed down. So you could say, the Red Sox lost because of the umps. Okay, but they still had it was still a 2-2 series lead. Things could have, of course, changed. And I didn't think the Astros were a clear favorite over us. I thought that both teams, Lance McCullers was out for that series, so they didn't have their ace. We obviously kind of were mixing and matching. They had a better bullpen, I think, than us. And their offensive players, they had some, they've had a lot of guys from that, obviously the cheating scandal, but obviously some great players from 2017 and before. But they definitely had some timely hits, kind of at the Jordan Alvarez just turned it to David Ortiz, Babe Ruth, you name it. By the end of the series, we couldn't get him out, and our bats just stopped getting cold. So, but in all retrospect, Loro, before we get on to your recap for the Dodgers, the Red Sox had a great season with all circumstances. I know people could say, "Oh, it's your goal is to get to the championship," but this was obviously a year. Now we have more expectations higher for this coming season, which makes it more fun because technically speaking, this is a rebuilding type of season for the Red Sox, and the fact that we made it to the championship series, beating the Yankees and beating the Rays, two of the biggest AL East juggernaut type teams, just says that this team, of course, isn't going to be a pushover, and this team was a lot of fun. And the fun thing is that we can spend more this offseason to make it even better to our common goal. I tweeted after the game was over, the Red Sox season was done, hashtag unfinished business, because I know for a fact that in the next 1 to 3 years, I think that if Alex Correa still stays and we have a lot of players that stick around, we get the bullpen better, we make some things happen, I think that this team could be in a World Series and win a World Series in the next 1 to 3 years. I do think that they will be at least in a World Series in the next 1 to 3 years. Win it, I'm not sure, but I think that they'll be in it just because of how they really proved me wrong this year. I don't think that this season was a fluke by any means. I think that they really just proved to people that it was in their locker room. They believed, the players and the coaches believed. The fans, on the other hand, they were just in for the ride, and it obviously was a fun ride. Of course, all good things sometimes come to an end, as much as you want to get to the World Series as your end goal. But it was a fun year, and I can't really complain about that. So, all in all, can't wait already for next season. There was obviously been some moments that I've been able to kind of sit down and say, well, I missed that team. But obviously you turn the page, to this offseason, and like we started with the show tonight, got to turn the page. That makes what baseball is so fun is there's obviously never a dull moment, and you can obviously move forward.
You obviously can move forward. And for the Dodgers here, I mean, this team was riddled with injuries. I'll tell you that, folks. I mean, Cody Bellinger didn't have a great year. I'll tell you that now. I mean, he did everything he could to be out on the field. He was really good defensively at first base and in center field, but getting cleated, having a hairline fracture in his calf, then the rib fracture, then the offseason shoulder surgery just didn't gel with his season. Max Muncy still had a really good season, but getting hurt on the last play of the season was unfortunate when he got hit by a Brewers player. And then you also got Clayton Kershaw being hurt on the second to last day of the season. I mean, he was already tuning up for his playoff start. So basically he didn't get to play in the playoffs. And then Justin Turner was hurt in the NLCS. He was done. So that was kind of the Dodgers season for you, but they still managed to win 106 games despite all the injuries that they had to deal with. This team is still really good. And I credit the Giants for winning the division. I think the Dodgers next year will win the NL West. I think that's going to happen. Like you said, Andrew Friedman said that his budget is fluid, meaning that the Dodgers are going to be spending a lot more. So that's what I expect from the Dodgers this offseason. And also, we're going to talk about this in a little bit. I do expect the DH to be coming to the National League as part of the new collective bargaining agreement, which we'll be talking about here. I mean, there's some John Heyman has been on this all day, and I'm telling you, I'm a bit nervous about it. But at the same time,
I'm a bit too. We could, obviously, if you want to get our nervousness out of the way early on, or do you want to get to the wish list and the fun stuff first? I'd rather get into the wish list and fun stuff first because we're kind of in that great mood as it is. And then we'll kind of finish off with a nervous, but we'll kind of switch into an a optimistic type of side. So let's start with the Red Sox wish list. I didn't personally
No, I was
make it.
finishing off with saying like how the Dodgers got there. Like obviously it is unfortunate that they lost to the Braves in 6 games. I wanted us to win that series, go back to the World Series, potentially get revenge on the Astros, but at the same time, the Braves were the better team. So that's all it is. And then now it's time for our offseason wish list for the Dodgers and for the Red Sox.
Hey, to be fair, you won the World Series last year and you lost to the team that won the World Series this year. So, can you say all hope? Heck, if you ask me, did you win the World Series this year? No, but we lost to the team that won the World Series in a certain. That just comes to show that they were playing better at the right time, and they sometimes just got to get a little lucky. Like you said, the Dodgers had some injuries. I think that they were a great team, the Dodgers were, but I think that the Giants and some other teams got better in that division too. So that's why I think that the NL West is. And I think that the Padres are going to have a bounce back year. I think that this year something happened, but I think that they will get better. I don't
yes,
think that
obviously. By looking at it, they have Bob Melvin now as their manager. I think that's going to be really good.
That should be interesting. Now, I did want to get into this, and of course, our friend Isaiah, who's an A's fan, there was a report out there that the A's are going to go into a fire sale with a lot of players because, of course, they had to save money for their new stadium. I'm not sure when that is exactly going to be coming, but John Heyman, as we've talked, he sounds like he's going to be kind of like the main name we're going to be talking about tonight. Good reporter, don't get me wrong, for sure. Love Passan, love Ken Rosenthal, but Heyman's a good one too. And Heyman was saying yesterday that the A's might be listening to some pitchers and guys like Frankie Montas and Chris Bassett and Sean Manaea, some really good names in that rotation and that staff. They also might be moving on from some of their best hitters and some of the best defenders. 2 guys that could be on the move for them are guys, like Matt Olson, who's been one of the best hitters for a while. They might be moving on from a Gold Glove winner at third base and Matt Chapman. Maybe they move on from one of their outfielders. Who knows? Maybe they might have some calls on Ramon Laureano. I don't think that'll happen, but we'll have to see. But what do you think about the A's obviously going into fire sale mode and might be moving on from some of their top players? Would you, as a Dodger fan, be interested in some of those players?
Probably not. I think that the Dodgers are going to find a way to keep Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw, which I think that's going to happen here. But at the same time, I think the Yankees are interested in Matt Olson. But you also didn't know this. Isaiah likes 2 teams in baseball. He's an A's fan, but I thought you knew that he was also a Philadelphia Phillies fan.
Yeah, he likes the Phillies. Yeah, because I remember that he was off in our group chat. He was a little bit upset about the Phillies and the way that they ended their season. So I do remember it. I think that his main team really, I feel like, is the A's, though. So
yeah, because he works for the A's. So I think the A's might be they might be in sell mode. They might be a team that could be heading into another direction. But a name that I heard that could be the next manager for the Oakland A's, Mark Kotsay. Watch that name. I heard really good things about Mark Kotsay. Former A, and he can really bring in some new blood into the organization.
Yeah, before the Red Sox got a quarterback, their managerial search after they moved on from Renicky, they had, I think, Sam Folds in the managerial mix. They had Correa, and they had, I think, Kotsay could have been a lingered type of name, a team that, he was kind of linked to. But I think that, with Correa's backgrounds and him, obviously besides him getting accused in terms of the so-and-so that he had in the past, I think that, on terms of his sides, everybody thought that it was best to bring him back. And look what happened. He almost brought them back to another World Series with the team that nobody gave expectations for. So it's pretty crazy that he did. And I think that's why he's going to be our manager for the foreseeable future.
He is. He's definitely the right person to lead the Boston Red Sox into the future. But now on to the Dodgers and Red Sox offseason wish list. So let me start with my wish list for the Dodgers. I expect the Dodgers to somehow find a way to keep Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, although they got Andrew Heaney. What are your thoughts on the Dodgers signing Andrew Heaney?
Well, good luck. I guess you could say that. I mean, I had a bunch of Yankee fans come on my neck in terms of I saw Andrew as a Red Sox fan. I saw Andrew Heaney actually pitch against the Red Sox, and I had a bunch of Yankee fans kind of around me when we were watching the game saying, "Oh," because the Yankees at the time in this series had a 2-0 lead, right? So the Red Sox really needed to. I mean, the game that I was going to, I already saw that the Red Sox won a game at Yankee Stadium once. So I was going. This was my second game I went to there this season, and Andrew Heaney, I could you not, he went out there and pitched like he was like Sandy Koufax in there. He pitched 7 innings strong. We could not hit him for you know what. Actually, you know what? Xander Bogaerts did hit a home run in the first inning. But after that, he pitched phenomenal. But he's not a great pitcher. He legitimately throws batting practices. He definitely is accustomed to the long ball, giving it up. So, he definitely has to hit his spots. He doesn't throw that hard. If he can hit his spots, he's okay. But he's definitely, let's just say if the Red Sox got Andrew Heaney, I would have been pretty sick. Just the fact of like what I kind of saw. I saw a lot of him in our division this year, and he was just so hard to watch. I mean, as a Red Sox fan, I was pleased obviously to see the Yankees obviously get upset about. But he's just, man, he's so bad. He's so bad. But I mean, the good thing is though, your team has so much besides him that have upgrades that could be a thing where they could just kind of try him out and kind of see what he has left.
He could be that next Robbie Ray, what Ken Rosenthal was saying.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I do think that he can give you maybe some bullpen innings and kind of see what with
And then also the news to talk about, Chris Taylor has declined the qualifying offer from the Dodgers along with Corey Seeger. So do you think both those guys will stay with the Dodgers, or do you think both Seeger and Taylor are probably going to be gone?
There's going to be a market. If you think he's going to come right back to the Dodgers right away, I don't know what to tell you. I think that the market for Corey Seager, I think, comes down to 3 teams. The Dodgers, the Rangers, I think, are very tied with him. I think he could go there, or the Yankees.
I'm going to throw another team in there for Corey Seager. The Angels. They need a shortstop or a middle infielder.
Well, so I was hearing from the Yankees, Twitter, obviously they've been in contact. I think Cashman said he was in contact with 2 names, and I think there are leaks out there from Jim Bowden, who is a pretty reliable source, that I think the names could be Corey Seager and Carlos Correa, kind of the 2 main names. They're obviously going to try to make an upgrade. If I would say that they're kind of Plan B dominoes, Plan C. Andrelton Simmons are kind of interested last year at the trade deadline, and then Didi Gregorius could be. I know he didn't have a great year, but if he goes back and kind of reunites, that could be an interesting kind of fallback. But yeah, I think Corey Seager is going to be on the move. I do think that the Dodgers have a better chance to get Chris Taylor back, but they did decline, which means that he'll have a market out there. And that is actually one of the players I want the Red Sox on my wish list, is Chris Taylor. I think that he is a versatile bat. He's going to be kind of like a Kike Hernandez situation again. But I think Corey definitely thrives on guys that can play multiple positions. We saw in 2018 with Brock Holt, he was able to thrive and play different positions, got himself in the lineup at times in the World Series and in the playoffs. Look what he did. He had a cycle against the Yankees in the American League Championship Series. So, and I think that his bat is a great swing for the monster. I think, him playing at home at our ballpark would be a lot of fun. And, that way you can keep Kike fully in the outfield. You put Taylor at second, Bogarts at short, Rafi at third, and then you worry about first base, whether it's Schwarber coming back or, you keep Dahlbeck at first. But I think Chris Taylor would be a great fit for the Red Sox.
Or you could put Chris Taylor at second, and then you could put, I think Schwarber will start in left, Verdugo in center, Kike in center. The Red Sox have a lot of options, but I don't think Chris Taylor will be there, so to speak. I think that the Red Sox will keep Bobby Dahlbeck as their starting first baseman.
Yeah, but to answer your question in all fairness, I do think that the Dodgers will keep their tabs on both The chances of them signing, of course, remain to be seen because I do think there's just too much of a market for both of them because both had pretty good seasons.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if both of them left. I mean, I think the Dodgers will always slide Trey Turner to short. I think Gavin Lux will start at second base. But when I talk about offseason wish list, one of the guys that I have on my wish list is Ian Desmond, who didn't play last year from the Colorado Rockies. I'm not sure, but I don't think Albert's going to be – I would like to have Albert Pujols back with the Dodgers, but I think he's going to want to go back to the Cardinals and play one more season with Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina and be the Cardinals' DH, so to speak, because we're going to talk about that. I do think that the DH is going to be coming to the National League. And Ian Desmond would be a good backup first baseman to Max Muncy and a good backup center fielder to Cody Bellinger, which I think would be good. He could also play some right field, play some left, play some short, play some third base. But I think Ian Desmond would bring bench production off the bench. I think he's at a point of his career that he's more of a bench player. And then some familiar faces that were on the Dodgers that are on my wish list. Charlie Culberson, who you could remember hitting the walk-off home run in Vin Scully's final game in the booth. I think the Dodger fans would love to have him back. If Chris Taylor leaves, he could have that Chris Taylor role, be that utility player, play center field. He could play second base to back up Gavin Lux, and he can also play shortstop at times. So I think if the Dodgers were to get Charlie Culberson, then I think he could be the backup second baseman to Gavin Lux and the backup center fielder to Cody Bellinger if the Dodgers prepare to move on from Chris Taylor. Trace Thompson's another guy. You know him as Clay's brother.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Don't you know who I'm talking about when it comes to Trace Thompson? He's Clay Thompson's brother that was a one-time Dodger. He had back issues. He could be a guy that could sign a major league deal with the Dodgers, or he could be a guy that could sign a minor league deal with the Dodgers, and that he could definitely try to compete for a roster spot in spring training. And then I think he can find a way to just be part of the Dodgers as a backup outfielder to Cody Bellinger, so that Justin Turner could be the universal DH, so to speak here. One of the guys on that list, you know him pretty well, used to be a Tampa Ray, Arizona Diamondback, Steven Souza Jr., who was with us. Didn't play much for us last year, but I feel like that he could be back on a one-year major league deal. I mean, he is a fantastic hitter, great defender in right field. But I think that the Dodgers could definitely see in him that they could try to get his career turned around, like what they did with Justin Turner. And then Avi Garcia, former White Sox, fantastic hitter. I thought that the Brewers could have moved him to first base, but when they got Eduardo Escobar, then they had to move Keston Hiura to first base. So I think that Avi Garcia could be a good reserve infielder, first baseman, and also a backup right fielder, kind of to move Mookie Betts to center field at times. I think Avi Garcia would be a good piece to have on the Dodgers for bench production, pinch hit when you need it, or something like that. So that's kind of on my wish list. Tell me your thoughts on that wish list.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable thing for the Dodgers. I think that their biggest, like what they're going to be doing big time, Loro, I don't think it's going to be a big time move on another team. I think it's going to be in-house, focusing on keeping Scherzer and Kershaw. I think that those so we'll see, but I think I do think that that's a good wish list. For my wish list, I do think that the Red Sox, they can go out and get some pitching help, bullpen per se. I think that their starters, I'd like to go out and for them to keep Erod to anything less than like a 4 or 5 year deal, even a 3. They did offer him a contract offer today. I think that it's reasonable for him to accept because he did accept the qualifying offer. The Christian Vasquez is coming back officially. He accepted the qualifying offer, even tweeted that he's coming back, so that helps the catching department. I do think that they'll keep Plawecki as familiarity. I thought that he caught Evaldi very well this year. And Evaldi is one of our best pitchers, so I think that he will come back. First base, I think will be Schwarber. I think that the Red Sox will find a way to keep Schwarber. Heimblum said the other day that he has been in contact to get Kyle Schwarber back. JD Martinez, one of our bigger bats, is staying, which is huge. So I think that now it's really going to be focused on trying to keep some guys and go into the market. I think guys like a John Gray, a guy like a Kevin Gossman. I don't know if they're going to go out and get that big-time pitcher. Maybe they take a flyer on a guy like a Justin Verlander, who I guess was in the Red Sox had some scouts on. So I think that would be an interesting, kind of fascinating situation. You bring back Chris Sale. You have Erod. If Erod comes back, so you have Sale. You have Erod. You have Ovaldi. How could be as emergency type of pitcher, and then you have Whitlock in the bullpen. But you definitely have to get your bullpen right. One of my guys as closer I want is Rosello Iglesias from the Angels. I think that the Angels will keep him, but I definitely like his stuff a lot. I do think that he is a great permanent closer. Another guy that I think could be an interesting name in the relievers is Kendall Graven. He was with the Mariners and he was with the Astros, and I saw a lot of him in that Red Sox-Astros series, and he had some very good stuff. I'd definitely entertain that. So you get some help, in the bullpen. You get some help in the starters. You get a couple guys. And I think from there, the Red Sox should be in a good position in terms of where they could be. Like I said, Chris Taylor, I think would be great. I mean, if I had a wish list for each position, so obviously at third you have Devers, at short you have Bogarts. I do think that they are going to be involved in the shortstop market. So if there's a way that Xander does get moved potentially, I don't think that it would be until potentially next year. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it'll be this year, but could they be in the Correa watch? Could they be on like a Trevor Story watch? I'm not sure. I doubt it. I think Xander is their main guy at short. Kike you have at sec. Actually, maybe Arroyo at second. I do think that there could be some names to look out for at second base for the Red Sox. I wouldn't be against Christian Arroyo starting, but I wouldn't have him as my permanent second baseman. I think you definitely get an upgrade from there. But then first base, I think really you have to really focus on resigning Kyle Schwarber, getting a closer, getting some relieving help, and then maybe an extra bat. I think some outfield. I think the outfield you're pretty set. So from there, obviously, we'll have to see how the Red Sox will do with their spending this offseason.
I think they're going to be spending a lot. I think the Red Sox and the Angels are going to be aggressive this offseason. So anyways, now with that being said here, now the next thing we're going to be talking about is the free agent prediction. So let's start with first base. Obviously, let's start talking about Freddie Freeman. So he is a free agent for the first time in his career, and he's obviously a World Series winner. So do you think that the Atlanta Braves will keep Freddie Freeman? I'm going to say that's a 100% yes.
Yeah, that's given. He was even saying after winning the World Series. There's just some guys out there in sports that you're like he's supposed to be that name. He's supposed to be dominant for that, for that franchise, for that team. You look at guys out there, guys who move. You look at guys, the legends. You look at Manning, Peyton Manning. You look at Brady. Obviously, recently, you look at Montana. Although I don't know if Montana was on two teams. He was on two teams. You're right. He was on the Chiefs and he was on the Niners. You look at Michael Jordan, of course. I'm not saying Freddie Freeman is up in that legend spot, but he'd be probably a legend in the Braves' eyes, in terms of what he's been able to give them for a while. So, of course, I think that the Braves will give him a 5 to 6 year maybe type of extension. Pay him all the money that he wants. He's going to be your guy for moving forward. And, yeah. So breaking news, of course, Loro here with Odell Beckham Jr. situation. I know that we're on the baseball, but as I'm just clicking here on Twitter, kind of looking at other stuff. According to Kim Jones from Ian Rappaport, indications are that OBJ is going to be taking time to decide his next team, and the decision could be a few days away. So
that's something to talk about on the extra point on Sunday.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think by the extra point, he could be on a new team, which means that he wouldn't be even on a team maybe by this coming. You think maybe he can make a decision right away. No, he's really taking time for this. So obviously that's another story for another day. I just want to get that out to you because I just saw it and thought you'd be interested. But yeah, I mean the Red Sox, I think of course are going to be in a good position if they spend money. To their max. I would be interested if they got a guy like Sean Manaea or Chris Bassett. I definitely would be interested in those guys. Do they go out and maybe make a move for Matt Olson? Probably not. I think the Red Sox first base you have Kyle Schwarber back, then you have Tristan Casas coming up in the Wayne series. So let me ask you this: what is your wish list out of all of those names that you said? What is the most realistic in your eyes?
I think the most realistic is the Dodgers keep Clayton Kershaw. I think that he's the heart and soul of this team. And then you have to talk about the Trevor Bauer situation for the Dodgers. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, if Max Scherzer leaves the Dodgers, do you see Trevor Bauer coming back to the Dodgers?
I don't think it'd be worth his presence again. I mean, that was a pretty big distraction that you guys were able to move on from. I think that you can just plug in a guy like Julio Urias or, Tony Gonsolin per se. You keep Scherzer, you have Kershaw, you have Gonsolin, you have Urias. You should be – and you have Buehler. So, I mean, you would still have a pretty steady rotation there without Bauer out there on your rotation. So, no, I think that Bauer should stick away as far as possible. I personally, I think he's a great pitcher, Bauer is, but I think that he shouldn't be able to play again. I just think that it's just come to that point where he shouldn't be able to play again.
So you think the Dodgers will void his contract?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really looked like the whole contract logistics of it, but I do think that if they're able to kind of take that money away, that of course is probably a huge win for them. So.
Yeah, they got to. I mean, the Dodgers need to find a way to keep Max Scherzer, which I think they will. And he ain't going he's not going to go anywhere, though. So, anyways, back to the free agent. So we talked about Freddie Freeman. Let's go to Anthony Rizzo. So my prediction is that Anthony Rizzo will remain a New York Yankee.
Anthony Rizzo, yes. I do think that he is going to stay as a Yankee. I think that Matt Olson, after looking at it, I think this is the biggest thing in the Loro. I think the Yankees will move on from Luke Voit. I think that they can move on from his contract. I think that the Yankees will move on from Gleyber Torres if they can in a trade for pitching. So you have between those two, you have freed up money. Then you go with Anthony Rizzo, who could play like DH. I mean, you could theoretically, this would be a lot, but because I think that they want to go for a big shortstop. So I don't think that they're going to do this, but they theoretically could have Matt Olson at first, Anthony Rizzo at DH. But I think that Anthony Rizzo is going to be getting paid like a plane as a first baseman. So I think it's going to be either Rizzo or Olson at first. That's what I do see.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I think Anthony Rizzo is going to remain a New York Yankee. So talk about the shortstops being a big free agent, deep free agent class. I like this group of shortstops in this free agent class. So, and we also have Marcus Simeon is very versatile. He could play second base, he could play shortstop. But let's start talking about Marcus Simeon. The teams that I think he should be, that I think are on his list: the Blue Jays, the Mariners, the Giants, and I think the Mets. But I'm gonna predict that I think the Giants need a second baseman more. So I think Marcus Simeon's going to go to the Giants.
I think that he will stay. I think that the Blue Jays have a good culture going on there. I think that he just fills a bill there. I think the Red Sox could be in play. He could play second. I think that would be a great fit there. And being talented, Marcus Simeon, I would love it. He'd be a great bat at whether it's leadoff or batting second. That would be a great bat. And that would just add even more punch to a Red Sox lineup that showed in this past playoffs that they could be a force to be reckoned with when healthy. But like you said, Loro, I think that other teams that are being and buying mode for Simeon are teams in the West. I think he wants to go West if he leaves. So I think the Dodgers could be a player for Simeon. I think that the Giants, I think the Mariners are the wild card team now. I think that Chippy Crawford's their main shortstop. If they have Simeon, That's going to be a very underrated team in Seattle. I think that Simeon is just that good. He could definitely add a lot to that. So I do think that Simeon's going to be definitely a hot commodity out there on the market, and whoever gets him for sure will be a upgrade to what they have.
Yes, I think so. I think he would be good for either team. So we'll now talk about Javi Baez, kind of that second base shortstop category. My prediction, he will remain a New York Met with his boy Francisco Lindor.
I think that Javi Baez will be moving on from the Mets. I think that there's going to be a lot of suitors for Baez. I don't know, without the thumbs down situation, I don't know if, I don't know really know how much he'll adapt to, him coming back. I mean, I guess like he played much better kind of after the whole saga kind of transpired down. I do think the Mets could be making him an offer, but I think that he'll go for more money. I'm not terribly sure in terms of teams out there at second. He can play second, play shortstop. But I do think that there's going to be some players out there for Baez.
Absolutely. Now on to the natural shortstops. So let's start with Trevor Story. So the Rockies offered him a qualifying offer. I don't think he's going to accept it. I think he could potentially stay with the Rockies, which I think that could potentially happen. Or here are my three teams that is on the list for Trevor Story: the Rockies, the Phillies, and the Rangers. And
all right, go ahead.
And I'm going to throw in the Yankees in there as well, but I don't think he'll be a Yankee.
I'm gonna go with a couple teams. I'm gonna go with the Yankees. I'm gonna go with the Marlins. I'm gonna go with the Phillies and the A's. I think that there's gonna be a good market for Story. I think that he will be going to either the Phillies at the end of the day or the A's.
Yeah, the A's might need a shortstop, but the A's are definitely in sell mode.
Yeah, so that obviously turns the mind around a little bit for Story, but I do think that if they're in sell mode and they get a guy back like him, that would be intriguing.
Yes, that will be intriguing. You're totally spot on right about that. So, anyways, let's talk about Corey Seeger. So, I'm still hopeful and confident that he'll remain a Dodger, but I think that it'll be the Dodgers, it'll be the Yankees, the Rangers, and the Angels that will be on the watch for Corey Seager.
Yeah, so Corey Seeger probably have a good market out there, but I do think it's going to be between the Dodgers and Yankees, and the Marlins. I don't know, not the Marlins. The Dodgers and Yankees, I think, are going to just be the top two.
What about the Rangers? Could you put them in there?
Rangers, too. Yep, I can see the Rangers every play.
Absolutely. And then also talk about, I don't think the third base market is kind of that good. Let's go to starting pitchers. So let's start with Max Scherzer. So my prediction is Bauer gone with the Dodgers. Max Scherzer is going to remain a Dodger.
Scherzer will probably be the number one focal for them. He will get paid. He'll stay a Dodger.
Let's talk about JV, Justin Verlander. So the Astros offered him the qualifying offer. He's probably going to reject it. Do you think that he will remain an Astro, or do you think he should go to the Halos?
I have two teams for Verlander. I do think that he'll move on from the Astros. I think that he could potentially reunite back in his old stomping grounds in the Detroit Tigers. Like, there could be an interesting fit there. And I do think the Angels should be a play for Verlander, a team that's kind of struggling to find pitching. That could be a low-cost, high-reward type of thing for the Angels.
That would be a low-risk type reward here. So, anyways, we have breaking news to talk about. We have the winners of the 2021 Relievers of the Year for the National and American League. Josh Hader is the 2021 Trevor Hoffman NL of the Year award winner, and the 2021 AL Reliever of the Year, it's named after Mariano Rivera. That is Liam Hendriks.
Yeah, definitely rewarding. Hendricks was one of the best relievers in baseball this year, and yeah, it's obviously good for them.
Now back to the free agent game here. Let's go to Clayton Kershaw. So my prediction is that he will remain a Dodger.
My two are Dodgers and Rangers.
And then let's talk about Kenley Jansen when it comes to the relief market. I predict he will remain a Dodger.
I think Kenley Jansen will be moving on. I'm not sure what team though.
And let's talk about Albert Pujols. So will he be a Dodger? I'm not ruling that out, but I'm going to say my prediction is that he's going to return to the Cardinals.
I think he'll go to the Cardinals too. I really like that a lot.
And that he will reunite with Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright, because I think he's going to want to retire with all three of them.
That would be really cool. Really, really cool.
Let's talk about Noah Syndergaard now. Top free agent pitcher. So my prediction is that he will remain with the Mets and Jacob deGrom.
He will remain a Met. I don't see any other market for him.
What about Marcus Strowman? Two teams,
Angels.
Mets, Angels. Where do you think he goes?
I think he's going to the Angels. I think the Mets move on from him.
And what do you think he would bring to the Angels if he is an Angel, Marcus Strowman?
Versatility and some up-end pitching.
Yes, the Angels definitely need rotation help for sure. So, I mean, the Angels need a left-handed bat. That's what I think they need to, besides from pitching, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
So, anyways, let's talk about Nick Castellanos. He opted out of his contract with the Reds. And the teams that I list for him is the Reds. The Marlins should be in play. I think an American League team would use him in right field, try to get his services there in right field. I don't know which team in the Central could use it. Maybe he might want to go back to the Tigers. I think the Cubs he would want to go back to Chicago, move Jason Hayward to center field. And my prediction, Nick Castellanos signs with the Marlins.
I think this Castellanos is going to be either a Brewer or a White Sox.
Why do you think he would be either a Brewer or a White Sox?
I think the White Sox can always, kind of move guys around, and I think that he would add a punch to their already good lineup. He can go to a contender. And then the Brewers, I think they can move things around. I mean, they'll probably move on from Avi Garcia, so they could probably move, Castellanos in that lineup. Especially if there's a universal DH coming too. They'll definitely be moving. They definitely could put Castellanos in that certain role.
That could definitely happen there. So now, with that being said here, now let's talk about the next free agent. Let's talk about now is our question of the day here. Will expanded playoffs and the DH come to the NL in the new CBA? That's the first question. And I'm going to go first with this question. I think you could see some type of playoff expansion in the new CBA, maybe 12 teams, maybe 14 teams. Like, here are my proposals. You have a 12 playoff field for both leagues. 2 teams get a bye week, meaning that those 2 teams will be awaiting the winner of the wild card series. So basically, you have 1-2 awaiting the winner of the wild card series. You still have the division playoffs, best of 5. LCS World Series best of 7, and I think that the wild card series will be a best of 3 if it's 12 teams or 14 teams. That is kind of the thing that I would think that it should happen. And also, I do expect the National League to install the DH. And I say that because I think it's going to benefit teams like the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Braves. What about you?
Yeah, I really agree with a lot what you said. I mean, universal DH should happen. I've always kind of hated the fact that pitchers, there's some pitchers that can hit, but I hate when pitchers have to go out there on the field, especially when there's some games that are really cold out. They have to run in jackets and stuff, and they really should be focused on themselves, pitching the ball and throwing the ball, not trying to get themselves hurt out there on the bases. And if they swing and miss and stuff like that, that's why all these pitchers just sit there and just don't even swing the ball, because they don't want to obviously hurt their arms by doing something that they're, theoretically speaking, shouldn't have to do, and that's try to hit the baseball.
Yeah, I think that pitchers shouldn't be hitting anymore at this point. because of risk to injury. I think the universal DH will be I think it'll be good for baseball going forward.
Absolutely, man.
That's kind of what I think here. But before we get to our next question, we got news to talk about with Charlie Morton. So he got his cast removed today, and he is expected to be ready for the start of the 2000 of the season for the World Series champion Braves, according to Alex Anthopoulos.
Yeah. For who are you talking about again?
Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton. Yeah.
So
good for Charlie. I mean, he went through a lot in the World Series, and he's a fighter. He's a warrior.
Other thing, before we get to our next question, another free agent person that I want to talk about is Michael Conforto. Do you think he goes to the Mets? Do you think he goes to the Nationals? Where do you think he ends up, and which team could use a left-handed bat like his caliber?
I think he goes back home in Washington. I think he goes to the Mariners.
He signs with the Mariners?
Mm-hmm.
They definitely need a left-handed bat to kind of balance things out. So Let's talk about where Jock Peterson will go. I mean, he's a former Dodger, and I think that you could keep Juan Soto in right field, and then Victor Robles in center. I'm going to call my shot, and then I think Jock Peterson's going to be a Washington National.
I think he's going back. I think that he's going to reunite with the Braves.
Why do you think he's going to go back to the Braves?
Because he could be a starter, he could be a bench type of player. I think that he loves the vibe that they just created there.
Was that?
I think that he loves the vibe there, and I think that he could play either a starting role or a backup role.
I just want to see Jock Peterson play every day. I think the Nationals would be a good fit for him.
That is true.
So that's what I wanted to say here. But I also think that the re-signing Eddie Rosario, and then I think they're going to keep Jorge Soler.
Yeah, they should. They should keep both Rosario and Soler.
I just think I'm not sure about Ozuna. I think the Braves will avoid his contract, and I think that the Dodgers will also avoid Bauer's contract too.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's talk about the CBA. So despite there being reports here, we'll take a look at some of these reports that I have in front of me on Bleacher Report. Jon Heyman was saying today, he said that both sides have been talking, they've been engaged, but there's not a ton of hope in each side for a quick resolution as December 1st expiration date approaches. They can also do this. If progress is made, they can also extend the deadline of the CBA expiration, which I think they should. They need more time to figure this out.
They should at least extend it to when the winter meetings are. I'm not sure the exact date of the winter meetings, but I think they should extend it to the winter meetings.
We'll see how it goes, but I think that there could be something in by December 1st.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a report that Jon Heyman also wanted to add is that he said that in current talks are bad as I've ever seen. I don't know who that person is, and that he predicts a 2.5 months of labor pain, meaning that there could be a lockout that could last until early February before spring training begins.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Things would have a chance. Things would have to kind of, really kind of change early for that kind of change. But I think that they will get to resolutions, but it's going to take a lot of time. I think that by early January, mid-January, probably the latest, you might hear more of it. But December, you should definitely hear more tracking ground. At least not till now, but you'll have more definitely by then.
Yeah, we although that there's no hope now. I have expectations that I think that both Rob Manfred and Tony Clark, and then the people that are in charge of the negotiations, they're gonna progress in the coming weeks. That's what I expect.
I agree for sure, man. Yeah, definitely.
Even though that Jon Heyman said that there's a little hope for a resolution before December 1st, there's still time to get it done. What are you thinking, Heyman? Why do you say that, Heyman?
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of saying what kind of the status is now. And I mean, he could be right. He could be right in terms right now that things aren't looking very promising. But, he could say it's within the next month and two and say, no, things are definitely trending upwards. So I wouldn't be betting against that per se at all.
Yeah, so here's some of the rules if there was a lockout. So if there's a lockout, all trade activity and free agent signings will be halted. So it would be on a freeze. Players will also not be permitted to use team workout facilities if there was a lockout. So that's what we need to get out there.
Yep.
And then the Major League Baseball has not had a labor stoppage since the 94 players strike. So it was before you and I were born. And then that wiped out the playoffs and the World Series. As a result, Rob Manfred was part of the labor team at the time. So on this report on KNBR, that's somebody who writes for the Giants. Someone said, even if there is a work stoppage, it's still reportedly unlikely that the 2022 season will be delayed. Lockouts are used in labor disputes as a negotiating tool. But if Heyman's source predicts unfolds, that would be unfortunate for everyone. So that's something to kind of get out there to the people. So there is hope. If there is a lockout, I don't expect the season to be delayed. I don't want another delay in the season in baseball because of COVID in 2020. I just think that we're going to need to move forward in baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need a full-on season. We're gonna have to play full-on games if we want to. For our teams per se, it just makes it a lot more fun.
But you and I both are on the same page that something will get done with the CBA.
That's my hope. That's why I want to be optimistic before we finish this show today.
Yeah, I want to say I still predict that the new CBA will be in place by December 1st.
I think it'll be by mid-December.
I don't think by mid-December. Rob Manfred has made it a goal that he wants to get it done before December 1st. He talked about that with Tony Clark at the World Series. So let's talk about what could be on the new collective bargaining agreement. So number one, universal DH. We touched on that. And we both agree that it's going to be coming to the National League.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think that there should be one. I'm just not sure when exactly.
I think it's going to come this year for the universal DH.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, universal free agency at 29.5 years of age, currently set at 6 years service time. Players, and I think the players and owners want this fixed as part of the collective bargaining agreement. Like if there's a lockout, it could be the free agent system and also the service time thing.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So right now it's at 29.5 years of age. That could be a little old. I think the players would want to lower it from 29.5 to 26 or 27. What do you think is the appropriate age range for service time?
Age range?
Yes. Like the players want to lower it somehow.
What was yours, really?
I think it should be at 27.
Say between 21 to 26.
Yeah, because currently it's 6 years. It could be 5 or 4. They could reduct that, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then another thing that they want is the international draft. That currently there is no draft for international players. What do you think about that rule? Could we definitely see an international draft in this next CBA?
I don't think there will, but I think there could be intriguing.
That's probably intriguing, having an international draft so that teams can draft international players and that they can have more time to develop in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And then another one is prevent anti-competitive behavior. Tanking when a team season looks bleak, i.e., for example, the Cubs fire sale at the trade deadline. What do you think about that? Could that somehow be changed?
The Cubs what?
It's the prevent anti-competitive behavior.
It could be.
Next thing is lowering the luxury tax threshold. currently at 210 and proposed to $180 million with a soft lower threshold at $100. Teams would pay a penalty for being above and below. Would you make a change in that luxury tax threshold rule?
I wouldn't. Keep it as it is.
The next thing is split revenues. That's something that is going to be talked about, is making up for lost revenue. The share in which the owners and league share with the players. So I think that there could be some split revenues here. And I think that if you make up for lost revenue, you expand playoffs.
Definitely, yeah.
And then let's talk about the seventh proposal. That is the service time calculation.
Mm-hmm.
A change in the way service time is calculated. The effect Kris Bryant and allowed the Cubs to manipulate his service time, thus preventing him from free agent sooner. So basically, he played a minor in AAA for the first 3 weeks of the season, and then they gained an extra year of service time. I think that the service time rule needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I do too. I think that they should change it up a bit.
And then raising minimum salary, currently at $570.5 million. Do you think that should be raised up?
I'm not sure.
Also, getting players into arbitration early. Currently at 3 years of service time, it proposed the players want 2 years of service time, trying to get players into arbitration early before they are eligible for free agency. Do you think that could happen?
Yeah, I mean, free agency, of course, arbitration, of course, is huge into it. So, and it really depend on the player too.
Yes, and then also talk about the draft order. Currently the opposite of the league standing. So do you think that there should be a change in the draft order? Like you should implement a lottery like what they do in the NBA?
Yeah, I think that there could be, yeah.
And then the last thing on the list is the shift. That's something we got to talk about. So the league would like to do away with it. So do you think that you would like to see the shift go away?
I want the shift to go away, yeah. But I do think it's beneficial at times. And on like a 5-4 game, in the ninth inning, top 9, you just do one out and hit a ground ball. Looks like it's going up the middle, and you have a guy right there. I mean, it kills you for the batter that hit it and you got out. But it's obviously it's different. It makes it more interesting for sure.
It does make it more interesting.
It kills the game at the same time too.
Yes, it does. You're absolutely right about that. But other stories to talk about is that sides have been talking about the CBA. So basically, the Players Association has made another proposal in the in this round of talks. So we got arbitration that's on there, free agency, competitive balance, tax, and taking. We kind of addressed that. So anyways, now let's talk about our award predictions based on the 3 finalists for each league. So let's start with Rookie of the Year in the American and National League. So let's start with the American League here. So we got Luis Garcia, Wander Franco, and Randy Arozarena. So my pick to win that award is I'm going to go with Randy Arozarena.
I'm going with Wander Franco.
Why Wander Franco?
He's an absolute stud, and he's going to be a Red Sox killer for life. He put up on a show. He came mid part of the season. He's a stud.
And then for the National League side, you got Trevor Rogers, Dylan Carlson, and Jonathan India. My pick is Jonathan India because I really think he is the second baseman of the future. He started from being a number 8 hitter. I think he's their leadoff hitter going forward.
Yeah, I think Jonathan India is the guy too. He had a fantastic year. Feels like every other at bat, every other day you're going to be hitting a home run. I mean, the guy the guy gets on base, he'll not be afraid to take the walk. He just seems like a very good hitter for a good hitting team.
Now let's go to managers of the year for the American League. Dusty Baker, Scott Service, and Kevin Cash. And on the National League side, Craig Counsell, Gabe Kapler, and I don't know why his name's on there. He's just got dismissed by the Cardinals. It should be Dave Roberts as a finalist. He got snubbed, but it is Mike Schultz. So my picks are for the National League, even though I hate the Giants as a Dodgers fan myself, I got to credit Gabe Kapler for doing a good job turning around this Giants team. I'm going with Gabe Kapler as my pick for National League Manager of the Year, and my pick for American League Manager of the Year. I'm gonna go with Scott Service over Dusty Baker.
So AO, I'm gonna go with who are the names again?
Dusty Baker, Kevin Cash, and Scott Service.
Kevin Cash. I'm gonna go with Kevin Cash. I mean, he led that team to 100 wins.
Yeah, he did, but he made a boneheaded move in the World Series to pull.
I know, but the past is the past. We're talking about this year. Kevin Cash definitely ran a good team.
All right, now let's talk about the National and American League Cy Young Awards. We got Zach Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies, Corbin Burnes of the Milwaukee Brewers, Max Scherzer split time of the Dodgers and Nationals last season. And then on the American League side, you got Garrett Cole, Robbie Ray, and you also have Lance Lynn. So, anyways, my pick to win the National League Cy Young Award, I'd love to give it to Scherzer, but I'm going to give it to somebody that hasn't won it before. I'm going to go with Bakersfield, California native. He's from my neck of the woods. Corbin Burnes of the Milwaukee Brewers. And my American League Cy Young winner will be Garrett Cole.
Mine, okay, so my NL is going to be Corbin Burnes, but I also going to be Robbie Ray.
Why Robbie Ray for the American League?
I think that Robbie Ray just statistically had a better year. Nothing to take away from Cole, but I think Ray had some better stats kind of at the end.
Speaking of which, speaking of Robbie Ray, we forgot to predict him. Where do you think he signs? The Yankees or he'll stay in Toronto?
Are we talking about Ray?
Yes, talking about Robbie Ray.
I think Ray probably will get signed by the Blue Jays. I think they'll give him a hefty paycheck.
Absolutely. I think he goes to the Yankees. I think he compliments Garrett Cole. I like the Blue Jays' young rotation with Hyun-Jin Ryu, Nate Pearson. I think they bring back Steve Matz on a 2-year deal, and I like Alek Manoah too.
Yeah, they got a lot of good young pitchers too. They got Barrios too.
Yeah, Jose Barrios is going to be a stud for them next season. Looking forward to that. Now let's talk about who's going to be the MVP of the National and American League. So let's go with the American League first. It's between Vlad Jr., Marcus Simeon, and Shohei Ohtani. And my pick for the American League MVP, I'm going with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And for the National League, it's between Bryce Harper, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Juan Soto. Boy, that is tough. But my pick to win the National League MVP is Juan Soto.
All right, so I'm going to go with Shohei. NL, I think he'll bounce back here, so I'm going to give it to Harper.
Why would you give it to Bryce Harper?
I don't know. He really kept the Phillies kind of within reach a lot of the second half of the season. He definitely, I think, deserved it.
He definitely did deserve it in some way. So, anyways, let's talk about some final thoughts and announcements. It was a good first show. I can't wait to what we're going to talk about next week on our Hot Stove Show. More CBA talk, and also we'll talk about more awards next week. So, basically, by the time we're on air, we could be breaking news to you about who is going to be winning the National and American League Cy Young Award. And also, we're going to discuss next week the Silver Slugger winners.
Yeah. Well, like Loro, like you said, this was a great first show. Great that we got to talk off air about doing this. It was a lot of fun. And like always, we'll definitely talk more on Sunday in terms of our kind of we'll have like a little bit of a schedule now, week by week. Sunday night we'll have our extra point. On Tuesday we'll have our lower end friends, and then we'll have this. So I'm looking forward to this show moving on forward, and looking forward to some baseball news from here till next week.
Yes, but before we go here, we have some other news to talk about here. We have the all MLB team nominees. So we're going to announce that to you right now. Let's start with the first base nominees. Jose Abreu, Pete Alonso, Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt, Vlad Jr., Yuli Gurriel, Ryan Mountcastle, Max Muncy, Matt Olson, and Joey Votto. What stands out to you on the first base nominees?
All of them have good attributes. My favorites from them are Freeman, Olson, and Vladdy.
And for third base, Nolan Arenado, Rafael Devers, Manny Machado, Yuli Gurriel, Yohan Moncada, I'm sorry. Yuli Gurriel can also play third base, though. Jose Ramirez, Austin Riley, and Justin Turner.
Yeah, another great list. I mean, definitely, for sure, was interesting.
And then for the designated hitter nominees, Yordan Alvarez. I say Yordan because Yordan rhymes with Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nelson Cruz, yep. JD Martinez, Giancarlo Stanton, and Shohei Ohtani.
Lots of big-time bats in that. They put a lot.
Talk about Nelson Cruz. Do you think he'll stay with the Rays?
Rays don't usually pay big-time guys. They got a low payroll.
Who do you think he goes to if he doesn't stay with the Rays?
I think he goes National League. I think that he'll go to a National League team. Not sure which one.
You mean since the National League has a DH, he'll go to a team that he can DH for?
Yeah, but even that, I think that he'll go somewhere that they use his services.
Catchers. Let's talk about catchers. Wilson Contreras, Yasmani Grandal, Salvador Perez. He recently retired. Buster Posey, Mike Zunino, JT Realmuto, and Will Smith.
Yeah, my favorite from that list is Salvi Perez. He had an absolute monster year.
He had a great year. I think that the Royals just need to build a winning team around him.
Oh, for sure.
And then for DH, my favorite one is Giancarlo Stanton. And then shortstops, Tim Anderson, Bo Bichette, Xander Bogaerts, Carlos Correa, Brandon Crawford, Nicky Lopez, Corey Seager, Trevor Story, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Trey Turner. But we forgot about Carlos Correa. Do you think he stays with the Astros, or is he going to go reunite with his boy AJ Hinch?
Can we go for Correa? I'll go down the Astros, Yankees, or Tigers, and I think you're going to go with Tigers.
Actually, you could use Aledmus Diaz as a stopgap guy because the Astros have somebody in their farm system that they really like.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So let's talk about second base nominees. Ozzie Albies, Jose Altuve, Jake Cronenworth, Adam Frazier, Jonathan India, Marcus Simeon, Jorge Polanco, Brandon Lau, and Whit Merrifield. I think my favorite on that list has to be Whit Merrifield.
For what position?
Second baseman nominees for the All-MLB team.
I think Whit Merrifield, people say he's overrated, but I think, he could really play. I really like what he can do out there.
Yeah, you wish the Dodgers would have traded for him?
Ooh, that would have been interesting.
I like Whit Merrifield, but I think he'll end up staying as a Royal.
Yeah, he seems like a guy to like stay.
And then for outfield nominees, Randy Arozarena, your boy Mookie Betts, who's now on my side of the spectrum. He used to be on your side of the spectrum. Chris Bryant, Nick Castellanos, Adam Duvall, Teoscar Hernandez, Kike Hernandez, Bryce Harper, Mitch Haniger, and Adolis Garcia, who got snubbed for AL Rookie of the Year.
You've been an interesting fit.
And then the others are Aaron Judge, Cedric Mullins, Tyler O'Neill, Brian Reynolds, Kyle Schwarber, Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker, and Jesse Winker.
I love me some Cedric Mullins. I think Cedric Mullins gets so underrated.
Very underrated player. You're absolutely right about that. Now on to the starting pitchers. Sandy Alcantara, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, Walker Buehler, Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease, Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Kevin Gausman, and Lance Lynn, followed by Lance McCullers Jr., Charlie Morton, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Peralta, Robbie Ray, Carlos Rodon, Brandon Woodruff, Zach Wheeler, Logan Webb, Adam Wainwright, Julio Urias, and Max Scherzer.
So many good ones.
And for the relievers, Aroldis Chapman, Emmanuel Chase, Giovanni Gallegos, Josh Hader, Liam Hendricks, Rafael Iglesias, Kenley Jansen, and Craig Kimbrell. And then Andrew Kittredge, Jonathan Logasaya. I don't know if I said his name correctly. Jake McGee, Mark Melanson, Ryan Presley, Jordan Romano, Garrett Whitelock, and Devin Williams.
I love Garrett Whitlock. Whitlock and Devin Williams are my two favorite on the list.
And then we'll talk about this question next week. Will Tanner Houck be a starter in 2022? Give us your early answer for that.
I want to keep it private. I'll respond to you next week about it.
All right. For Ben, Loro signing off for now. We'll see you next week on Loro Sports Pod Hot Stove. And we'll have more to talk about with offseason, talk about some awards next week. And then we'll talk about Silver Slugger to begin the show. Then we'll talk about Rookies of the Year, Managers of the Year, Cy Young Award. We'll be bringing you the Cy Young Award winners and then talk about MVP next week.
Sounds like a plan. I'm looking forward to next week.
Yes, next week's going to be good. Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.